Hi, this is Ajit here. In this session, I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks to give you a good start for PSM-I certification exam organized by Scrum.org. First thing first, Scrum is a framework. It's not a methodology, it's not a method, it's not a process, it's not a technique. Any process, technique, method can be added into the Scrum framework to help it deliver effectively. Coming back to your exam preparation point of view, remember this word REAL. R stands for roles, E for events, A for artifacts, and again R for rules. Scrum comprises of roles, events, artifacts, and rules. There can be direct question on that. So remembering this word REAL would help you out. There are three roles: Scrum Master, Development Team, Product Owner. There is no proxy product owner. Development team comprises no separate titles or sub-teams. This is a cross-functional team which is self-organized. Scrum Master is a servant leader role. Together they are called a Scrum team. Every role in the Scrum team has certain responsibilities assigned to it. For example, Scrum Master has three-sided responsibility. One for the development team, another for the product owner, and the third one to the organization. So get a very good grasp of all the responsibilities assigned to these individual roles from the Scrum guide. Events. Events were referred as ceremonies in the previous Scrum guides. There are 5 events: sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, retrospective, and sprint. Sprint is a larger event which comprises of remaining 4 events into it. All the events are time boxed. Sprint can be maximum for 1 month duration. For a 1 month duration sprint planning can be for maximum 8 hours. Sprint review can be for maximum 4 hours. Retrospective can be maximum for 3 hours. Daily stand-up is anyway going to be 15 minutes irrespective of the duration of the sprint. There can be questions asking, what if the duration of the sprint is 1 week, 2 week, or 3 week, then what is the likely duration of the sprint planning, sprint review, and retrospective? To handle these kind of questions, remember these formulas. If the sprint is 1 week, then multiply this duration by 1 by 4. If sprint is 2 week, then multiply this duration by 1 by 2, and if sprint is 3 week, then multiply the duration by 3 by 4. Sprint planning is participated by the Scrum team, and they can extend the invite to the outside parties like technical leads, DBAs, or SME. Together they decide what to do and how to do. Focus on input to the sprint planning like capacity, past team performance, increment, etc. Especially focus on the outcome. There are 2 outcomes: sprint goal and sprint backlog. Sprint backlog constitutes of product backlog items and the plan to deliver these. Daily Scrum. 3 questions are not mandatory now, so team can choose their own format for discussion. But the focus will again be on updating the progress towards the sprint goal and identify any impediment that need to be removed. Sprint review is again participated by the Scrum team, and they extend the invite to the stakeholders. There are a set of activities which are taken care as part of sprint review. So get a very good grasp of these. Some of these activities are like product owner tells what has been done in the sprint, what could not be done. Team shares what obstacles they faced during the sprint and how did they overcome, and so on. The outcome of the sprint review is the revised product backlog. Retrospective is development team show. Scrum Master joins them as a facilitator and can be a participant there to cover up process aspects. Team looks back, what went well, what need to be improved, and they come up with an action plan for that. Product backlog refinement meeting is not considered as an event in the Scrum Guide. This meeting normally takes place in advance of the sprint to refine the backlog and estimate it so that team can directly pull them during the sprint planning based on their capacity. But backlog refinement can also take place during the sprint planning, and probably that is the reason product backlog refinement meeting is not considered as an event separately in the Scrum Guide. Artifacts. There are three artifacts: product backlog, sprint backlog, increment. Product backlog is owned by the product owner. This is an ordered list of product backlog items based on the business value. Product backlog is never complete. As long as the product is there will be a product backlog, and it will be dynamic in nature. It will be revised based on the market feedback and the business value. The topmost items of the product backlog will be clearer and detailed so they can be estimated. Any responsibility related to the product backlog can be delegated to the development team, but then the overall responsibility lies with the product owner only. Sprint backlog, as we discussed, is the outcome of the sprint planning. Sprint backlog is owned by the development team. They can make any change in the sprint backlog throughout the sprint. They can add the item, they can remove the item, as long as the sprint goal is not compromised. Increment. The sum of the product backlog items completed during the sprint and meet the definition of done is called the increment. Rules. There is no separate section for rules in the Scrum Guide. Rules are spread across all the sections. Some of the rules I have noted down here. Definition of done. Definition of done is a list of items or checklist which should be completed to consider the increment done. If the organization is having a definition of done, then team should abide by it. If there are multiple teams working on a product, then in that case these teams should mutually decide the definition of done. Otherwise, a single team has to decide the definition of done itself. Time boxing is another rule wherein all the events are time boxed. Scrum values may not necessarily be rules there, but they form the value system within which the team has to act and behave. There are 5 Scrum values which will address questions on them. To memorize those values, remember this word CC4. C for commitment, another C for courage, F for focus, open, O for openness, and R for respect. Sprint cancellation. A sprint can be cancelled by the product owner as long as he realizes that the sprint goal has become obsolete. He can be advised on that by the Scrum Master and the development team. After the cancellation, if any product backlog item is potentially shippable, it will be accepted by the product owner. Rest of the PBIs will go to the backlog and be estimated. Team size can be only between 3 and 9. If team is less than 3, there will be skill constraints. If team is more than 9, then there will be coordination issues. Development team can only spend 10% of their capacity for product backlog refinement meeting, which they will have with the product owner. Another important subject area is empiricism. It is based on the process control theory, wherein it believes that the knowledge comes from the experience and any decision making can be based on the known facts. It advocates for 3 pillars: inspection, adoption, and transparency. Inspection. Regularly inspect the artifacts to find any deviation and fix them as soon as possible. Inspection also means you look back, what are you doing well, what need to be improved, and come up with an improvement plan. Adoption is all about working on the improvement plan and adapt it sprint over sprint based on the priority. Together, inspection and adoption are taken care in these 4 events: sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint review, and retrospective. Transparency is all about having a common language and shared understanding, which is where the definition of done plays a major role. Coming to the strategy part of the exam preparation, there are 2 ways people will land for PSM-I exam. One, those who are already experienced as Scrum Master, development team or product owner, so they know ins and out of the Scrum, but they need to correct their understanding as per the Scrum guide. For example, the shop may be using hardening sprint or sprint zero, which is not acknowledged by the Scrum guide. Another set of group could be those who are altogether very new to the Scrum. For them, I'll suggest to go through the PSM workshop organized by the scrum.org. These workshops not only gives you a very good foundation on the Scrum, but they also help you solve some of the scenarios which prepares you for the PSM-II exam as well. There are a set of steps which I can suggest for your exam preparation out of my experience of passing this exam with 96.3% in the first attempt. You can have your own strategy, own plan. This is just a suggestion there. Take 2 rounds of the Scrum guide. Your first round could be a cursory one, understanding the overall scope, subject areas and the content there. The second round has to be a deep dive, understanding each and every line thoroughly, because the language is very dense. Once you are done with the Scrum guide, go to Mikhail Lapsin's website. Just Google on Lapsin PSM-I and you'll be there. And start the exam in the learning mode. In the learning mode, every question is shown with the answers. So that gives you a very good opportunity to validate your understanding from the Scrum guide. After that, again take a deep dive of the Scrum guide, and this gives you an opportunity to correct your mistakes which you made here. Then go to Mikhail Lapsin's side again and start the exam in real mode with a timer set. And ensure that you're getting 95% here. If you're not getting 95%, then go back to the step 1 and 2 till you get 95% here. The fifth one and the last one is open assessment by scrum.org. And this is very important because some of the questions are repeated as it is in the real exam. So ensure you are getting 100% marks in this open assessment before you go for the real exam. So that's all about some tips and tricks which I thought would give you a good start for your PSM-I certification exam preparation. Feel free to drop in your questions and comments. Stay tuned. All the best.